Hello friends, Stacy Anfinson here with your Tor Report market update. We're going to tackle a subject that I've had a high degree of curiosity about, and I'm sure you all have the same. This is now 6 years coming out of COVID, and we have enough resales and active listings to see if there was an influence, what was going on then at the time in terms of low interest rates and low inventory. What is the influence on residential property? So let's dig into the data and see what we've got. Well, we've got some clues. How do we figure this out? One thing we're going to look at is sold resale listing data where we've got competing offers. Second one is sold resale listing data where the sales price is greater than list price. Both of those are indicative of market conditions back in the day. And then repeat sales, we want to quantify that percentage change between the two. It's the two most recent sales prices. And then another form of repeat sales, which is not reported on by anyone that I know, and that's taking a look at the current list price with the prior purchase price. I think that's very informative about where house price change is in real-time sense. So here we go back to the first quarter of 2020. We're going to be there with all these quarters going from there, and this is the number of sold resale listings with reported competing offers. Highlighted second quarter of 21 and the third quarter of 21 as the highlight of it. Now, I think one of the things we got to remember is this really, if you're going to talk about the start of COVID being the first quarter of 2020, we didn't really see the influence of what was going on there for about a year later, as you can see with the high number of listings with reported competing offers. If you look to the right, it's gotten way lower compared to where it was. Now we look at resales that sold above list price. Third quarter of 2021, once again, it's about a year and 2 quarters away from the start of COVID, but you can see those were absolute peaks there in the second quarter of 2021 and the fourth quarter of 2021. And you can see what's happened in the last 4 quarters, how that has really gone down, even well below where it was at COVID onset. Now we're going to look at the what happens with the two most recent purchase prices, and this is where we get appreciation. Now, I know that there's a lot of people that put this type of number out there. Repeat sales is my favorite because it's the same house. I'm not a real big fan of changes in median sales price or any other house price index change that FHFA or Redfin or Case-Shiller puts out. This is my go-to one because I think it's been very helpful. So if we go all the way back to the first quarter of 2020 and the second quarter of 2020, if you resold your house in the last 12 months, you had a total gain of 48%, and that's phenomenal. As a caveat, that's lower than it was as house prices have come down. Those percentages on the left have gone down as well. If you bought your house in second quarter of 2025, and you sold it in the last year or two, you're down 8%. So once again, if you look at historical market, if you're going to hold your house for a year or two, typically you're not going to get much appreciation. That certainly changed coming out of COVID, going from the first quarter of 2020 until through 2023. But as you see, if you look at the right side of the graph, we typically don't see negative numbers, but it is kind of indicative of a return to historical norms. Now, if you're going to look at the current list price versus prior purchase price, I've got two of those things circled. You see in the fourth quarter of 2021, the second quarter of 2023. Those are the lowest percentages. If you bought your house then and you have your house on the market now, once again, if you go back to the first quarter of 2020, you're up 67%. The second quarter of 2020, you have it listed. Remember, this list price, you have it up 53%. This percentage is on the left. We're probably not going to see those again. It was a perfect storm of low interest rates and a lot of other things. But those people made more money on the resale of American House than anybody in maybe the history of the world, but certainly in the history of the U.S. Now, once again, looking at the active listings. Now, this is a data set that we looked at where we have the current list price and their prior purchase price, and we just did a count in terms of how many of those listings, where those listings were previously purchased. The good news is the numbers are not really significant, but if you look at where those numbers come from, and those are circled there, if you go back to the first quarter of 2024, based on current listings. There's 20 resale listings on the market for less than they paid for it. Go back to the first quarter of 2023. There's 26 on the market. Second quarter of 2022 and the first quarter of 2022 as well. So there's a bit of a pattern there. You see, if you buy your house in the first quarter, you're coming out of market conditions in the fourth quarter, and that's going to be historically not a good time to buy if you look at it from a resale standpoint. All right, wrapping this thing up. Second quarter of 2023 was the market peak. 32% of resale listings purchased during the quarter had reported competing offers. Analysis of current listings priced below prior purchase price indicated most were purchased in second quarter of 2023. Houses purchased between first quarter of 2020 and first quarter of 2021 and the highest percentage change in sales price. We'll probably never see those rates again. Once again, purchases during the first quarter tend to have the lowest percentage change compared to other quarters. And most importantly, now more than ever, listing agents must be aware of market conditions and resale prior purchase quarter. It's not one size fits all because, as the numbers say, if you bought your house in the first quarter of 2023 or the second quarter of 2023 or a year ago, it has a big difference. It is not a percent per month like it was at some point in times, but you really need to pay attention to that and advise your sellers and your buyers accordingly. So that's all we've got for now. I hope you found that informative. It's a little complicated to try and explain it in this format. Once again, if you want to see the report, I'm going to click over to the TAR report there. There's the home screen. Here's a view of TAR report. And then you're going to scroll down to resale submarkets, analysis of code era market conditions on resale listings. You can take your time reading this. I think it's easier to do this in a written format than it is a video format. So let me know what you think about that. Once again, these are the services that I provide. If you like this, please click on the like button, and we do appreciate all the subscribers we get. So thank you very much, and we will see you next time.